obesity is a major risk factor for depression and anxiety. And we know this because obesity, the fat cells release chemicals that are inflammatory. And we'll keep this a bit simple and we can narrow down a bit further. And the inflammatory chemicals have to be tempered by the body. So the body hypersecretes cortisol to suppress the inflammation. Cortisol depresses serotonin in the brain, so your overall mood and happiness declines if you're obese.
Wow. Welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your host, Steve and Jeff. G'day, Steve-O.
How are you?
Mate, good. This one is going to be, for some people, a relatively controversial topic. Now, I want to say off the bat that ATP science recognises the rights for everybody to self-determine. So what we are talking about here is not, and it will be controversial because at the moment, it seems like absolutes that we've taken for granted are no longer considered absolute.
But we are going to possibly upset some people today.
Well, good. And what I mean by that, Steve, is that, okay, if my son, and I believe this, and this is interesting because I heard, I think it was Penn and Teller, one of the Penn and Teller guys, talking about Christianity on this. Now, whether you believe in Christianity or not, he said if somebody truly believes something and they were sharing something from a good place, because this is objective. You've got Muslims, you've got atheists, you've got all the rest of it. Now, Steve, if somebody truly believes something, that purple elephants were going to score from the sky, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful at all, but they truly, honestly believe it, and they were saying, hey, can you please not stand there? A sinkhole's about to open up. I've had a premonition. I believe sincerely. Now, mind you, you can categorically look at the argument, the evidence, you know, whether you accept, there's all those sorts of things. Of but if what they're doing is from a good place, but they're still respecting your person, then, okay, you can dismiss them at your own peril.
Yeah, sure.
And you could be completely right.
Yeah.
But you may be completely wrong.
Exactly.
So here is what we're talking about today, Steve, and you actually preference this. So, well, we're going to preference this right now. This is not targeted to cause controversy for controversy's sake. We're not here to shame anyone. We're not here to talk about physical appearance or aesthetics. We are talking about unequivocally proven science and the understanding of what that science shows as we currently understand it. And I think it's bearing up over time, Steve, that some of the things that we're about to talk about, the vast majority of the population have probably accepted as true. Now, that doesn't mean that they are, but I guess current mindsets would suggest that they are, and I believe that they are, and I believe that they'll probably remain true. However, there is probably a group of people who may or may not be listening to this podcast that disagree with it. But I'm really talking to the people in the middle. Steve, so we can stop the people and put them out of their misery guessing what we're talking about. Can you explain to me, in 15, 20 seconds what we're talking about?
Sure. We're going to be talking predominantly about obesity. Now, is obesity itself, and this is the question we're going to ask today, harmful? Or as some people say, it's not the obesity that's harmful and you should let people stay at the size they are and embrace what they term fatness. Now, I know it's a terrible word, but I'm just quoting the papers.
But judging someone for someone's weight or their aesthetic appearance is terrible. My son has 3 kilos of body fat on him and is built like an absolute toothpick, and he gets picked on all the time and he hates it, right? He can't do a lot to change his body shape at the moment. As he gets older, he's going to start working out with weights. And I understand what dysmorphia, I understand anorexia, I understand bullying, and it's all disgusting, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we should speak kindly to one another and constructively. And if there's criticism, just having a crack at someone, especially from an aesthetics point of view, the way that they look, Steve. And I mean, you're a very handsome man, but I am aesthetically challenged. So I feel the ire of that, right? But at the end of the day, someone who's beautiful on the inside, and that is true. Now, whether you're heart disease ticking away and you don't know about it, whether you've got cancer, that doesn't define you in terms of, but it may have an impact on your longevity. And I think burying your head in the sand or accepting lies that, for example, if you eat X, Y, Z, or if you do certain thing that it's going to prolong your life, or that it's, if you're doing a bad thing and it has no impact on your health, that is what worries me, Steve, because I think a lot of people will believe lies reasons put forward, either because of confirmation bias or because they want to believe it or because genuinely they've just been duped.
It could be a comfortable lie. In other words, what they're saying is they tell themselves one thing because it's easier to do it that way. Like, I don't really need to exercise because I get enough activity at work, or those sorts of self-affirming lies. And I call them lies because they may not be truths, because they may not be exercising enough or whatever it is. And in this case, what we're talking about is an obese individual who will say, I'm obese and I'm healthy at that weight.
Steve, there's a couple of things to consider here. There's emotions and emotive language.
Yep.
There's political correctness. There's opinions.
Yep.
There's mental health and well-being.
Yeah, got that.
There's there's science, facts, and truth. And all of these things may come at it from a slightly different perspective. Some things may align, truth and science. Sometimes the science can be skewed, and we've seen this before as well too in other industries where they actually take snippets or excerpts, abstracts, and they actually construct a narrative out of half-truths or partial truths. That's why we say you say the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, right?
Correct.
Because
Absolutely.
if you leave certain elements out, it can actually be conveyed and you can come up with the wrong opinion or assumption at the end of it. But it is a touchy subject.
Very touchy
no
subject.
pun intended.
Yep.
But we've got to, and we're trying to approach this. This should probably be a less funny podcast because we don't. It's not that. It's just that we don't want to upset or offend anybody, and we want people to hear this message.
Exactly. And we've got messages coming from the scientific literature, which if you're watching somebody, you'll see in front of me, I'm surrounded like a cricket slips cordon with papers, and they're all going across them. I've got some from one side and some from another side and different perspectives on scientific papers. So I like to come from a health professional point of view, a science point of view, and then bring in the other points of view, which, as you correctly point out, this is not judgmental. Diseases don't judge. They don't. If you've got an illness, that you shouldn't be judged according to that, whether that be obesity, if you even consider that an illness. Now, they do in America and all the diagnostic thing in 2013. They called obesity an illness. They changed that, and that's been pushed back against because is it an illness? And that's what some papers are saying in on my right side. So they're questioning all that. But we've got a good place to start, which is sort of like, what does obesity do to the human body? So there's two sides of the coin here.
Yeah.
There's the one that you've probably all heard listening here, that obesity is bad for you, and we'll keep it really simple to start with. And then there's other thoughts saying that it's not that obesity is bad for you, it's that people trying to lose weight and all the stigma associated with that, so you should be happy at any size and stay the size you are. And they're the two opposing arguments in this podcast, and I've got papers on both of them. So it'd be good to listen and sort of have a look at and evaluate the evidence for yourself. So it's very interesting about, I know.
It's a juxtaposition, Steve, because you know what? I understand as well too. Like, no matter where you are in space and time, right now in the present, you should try and find things to be positive and to be happy about.
Sure.
At the same time, if there's things that you don't like or things that you know are dangerous or things that aren't good for you, then you should find a way to move forward and to remove those obstacles, barriers, or illnesses from your life or potential precursors that could make you sick. If there is a sword of Damocles hanging over your card by a string of thread, but it's there right now. But hey, I really like the look of it, and I don't want to go and move it because I enjoy it, I like it, and I'm comfortable with it. But if it snaps one day and falls on your head and kills you, you kind of see the argument I'm going with here.
Absolutely. I do, because that's what these papers are all about.
Steve.
Yes.
You know what I like to do before I work out?
What?
I like to amp it.
Oh, you amp it, eh?
I do. And I do that with amperage.
Amperage. Love it. 100% actives in amperage.
Is it, Steve?
100%. No fillers, no like filling in little sections here. 100% actives.
And apparently it's keto friendly as well. And what's interesting is that it's considered to be, or it's claimed to be, a pre-workout oil.
Yeah, a pre-workout oil, which is amazing because you don't hear of them very commonly, do you?
No, well, it's different. And look, I guess the funny thing is with AMP is that, being serious, because I know that was very cliche, guys, and I apologise, but I find doing ads and that is, get in now and buy our new amperage today. It's like, no, thanks. But when we originally came up with this product, we wanted to do something completely different, and we wanted to provide something that would be good for keto, good for, but it's not just for keto. It can be used by, athletes. I used it before I used to play football, so I'd use it before soccer. Other people use it before weights. A lot of people use it. And I think the most popular is using it first thing in the morning before fasted cardio.
Yes.
Now it's interesting, and again, we can't make a lot of claims, and we don't.
No.
So we just say that the product speaks for itself.
It does.
So give it a try. I mean, if you're looking for something that's non-stim, that doesn't have caffeine, that has
100% natural too.
It is. Well, there's CLA in there, Steve. There's obviously peppermint in there as well too.
That's very good.
Yeah, there's some great, and they've got some interesting benefits. But again, because we want to be good Boy Scouts,
We do.
we're not going to say anything about what the product does other than it does something.
Look into it yourself.
Anyway.
Yep.
Thanks, Steve.
No worries. Thank you. So there's two sides of the coin here, what we're looking at. The question is obesity harmful or is it not harmful? Is what we're really talking about today. Some would argue it's not harmful, and it's harmful to even try and change your size, and you should be happy with your size the way it is. And they argue against trying to help people to lose weight, even if they want to. In fact, one of their articles says that if they want to lose, if someone comes to you and wants to lose weight, you've got to unpack why they want to lose weight. And one of the reasons could be that they live in a fat-phobic society and all this sort of stuff. So you've got to try and discourage the weight loss and be happy and healthy at your size.
Steve, I know. We're going to break down into in a minute about the impact of being overweight by containing more body fat on your body than what is considered to be optimally healthy from an endocrine system, from blood pressure, cardiovascular, I mean, all this sort of stuff, right?
Exactly.
Are they coming at it? Because I'm trying to find credence, Steve, and I guess there's some things here I can see where I could potentially maybe understand the argument that they're coming at it from a point of view of fat shaming, where people are doing something from the motive of peer pressure, self-loathing, stress, and if you like, a mental disorder, almost depression. If they're coming at it from there, I can kind of understand that, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people should just, how do you say, accept the self, but understand where you need to improve, as opposed to not accept yourself and become depressed and kill yourself because you feel fat shamed.
Correct. And these people have some good points. They're firstly saying that short-term dieting doesn't work, and I agree with it. It gives people lifestyle changes. So as they, eat better and exercise more throughout their life, and over the years they will lose weight, or months, or whatever it is. Not like 2-week fast or anything. I'm not a big fan of those to lose weight. You can do accelerated weight loss like the early Atkins stages or a keto diet initially, and then sort of introduce more foods in your diet, which is like what, as we mentioned a few weeks ago, the Atkins diet does, keto diet does that. And I'm happy about that. And I agree with them, certainly you don't fat shame someone, but to like they call for the healthy eating size, they call for changes in the value of promoting weight loss and dieting behaviour, and argues for a shift in focus to weight-neutral outcomes. So if someone's obese, they stay at that weight, and that's what they argue for. And that's a paper that was on their website and was referenced. It was 2011 by Linda Bacon.
It really is pardon?
Oh, it was by Linda Bacon. That's her name.
So I think it's really important to understand that you can put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, right? And this is the thing, it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater, 100%.
Correct, yeah.
Because mental health is really important, but I think we need to change our attitude and the perspective and what we're doing. If the advice is coming black and white and from a loving and supportive way, and I know that sounds very touchy-feely for the people that are on the far right, because they're like, if you're overweight, you're going to die. You're going to get, there's nothing to it. So it's like, you have to understand that a lot of times people's emotions are wrapped up in their self-image, and if they've had bad childhood, they don't understand diet, they've had thyroid diseases, if there are circumstances and situations, education, information, lifestyle things where people feel trapped, then you have to help the person, as Patch Adams says, right? You treat the person, then you can move on to the disease. If you treat the disease, and it's the same thing with this as well too. And this is where I actually get it, Steve. I think I actually do.
Yeah.
but I won't allow either side to tell lies to make their case. And that's, so get into it.
Well, unfortunately, the first thing, and you correctly point out, so they make a number of assumptions in the paper, and I'll just reference this paper. The first assumption is adiposity poses a significant risk to death, okay, or morbidity is what they talk about. And so what they say is that, yes, the evidence is that obesity is associated with a shortened lifespan, but not a causation. But now we know, like this was 2011, it's been 11 years since then. So we now know mechanisms of how the fat cells actually release chemicals themselves, like what they call adipokines, which are chemicals from the fat cells, which change your physiology and disrupt your body and shorten your lifestyle. And since that paper...
Shorten your lifespan?
Yeah, lifespan, sorry, not lifestyle.
Yeah, I was going to say, nothing's crimping my lifestyle.
No way. So unfortunately, being obese does shorten your lifespan by about 15%. So about 15 years.
Okay. What sort of studies have been shown to prove that, Steve?
There's two. There's mechanistic studies, so they know that how it does it, which is increasing diseases that we'll get to. But more importantly, they're meta-analysis studies,
right,
which are of all the randomized controlled trials on this, because obesity's been around for, many years. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So unfortunately,
or maybe just after they let you go.
Yeah, they lived in the Garden of Eden. They would have eaten really well. But so unfortunately, these people would be quite startlingly, that we know the evidence on this now that obesity does shorten your lifespan. And so this was, of course, and I'm not having a go at Linda here, but this was actually published fairly recently. So, but it's very much, a few years ago where they talked about, this was 2011. So now we know that evidence is incorrect. Mm-hmm. We now know that it's not just an association, because association means you drink water and you'll die within 24 hours. Everyone's drunk water in the last 24 hours, like eating the potatoes, that scenario where it's an association but not a causation. But now we know we've established the causation through mechanisms of increasing diseases that lead to death.
Yep.
So there's now a causation, and they've put a number on which is 15 years, which if you get past adulthood is about 15%, sorry, it's about 10 to 15 years you will lose in life. Now, that's not including health span, which is because when you're obese, your health is lower as well.
Quality of life.
Yeah, and one of the things you mentioned before is mental health. Obesity is a major risk factor for depression and anxiety. And we know this because obesity, the fat cells release chemicals that are inflammatory. And we'll keep this a bit simple and we can narrow down a bit further. And the inflammatory chemicals have to be tempered by the body. So the body hypersecretes cortisol to suppress the inflammation. Cortisol depresses serotonin in the brain, so your overall mood and happiness declines if you're obese.
Wow.
Yeah. So mental health is a major risk factor for that, of course, is obesity.
So does that mean that there is statistically an anomaly or a how would you say, supporting evidence to show that obese people are a high percentage of suicides?
Yep.
Is there is
that too?
Okay.
Yeah,
because I was going to say that would have to happen.
Yeah.
And that would then be proven out in the data. There would be a correlation between that statement and the percentage of the population committing suicide.
Exactly, and we know that.
And again, I always say this as well because I appreciate in Australian law.
Yeah.
It's really important if you are depressed, whether you're overweight or thin, or it doesn't matter. Please go and seek medical help. It's really, really important.
It's critical.
Really.
And get this sorted out. Now we know from the papers that of course, and we'll just stick on mental health here. For mood disorders, there's been interventional diets that have been shown to improve mental health. And one of the most popular ones that's been researched since the 1920s is the ketogenic diet.
Right.
Now, the ketogenic diet is excellent for all sorts of epilepsy and all this sort of stuff, and bipolar disease and binge eating disorders, but also a very recent paper here. It's just published called Ketogenic Diet as a Metabolic Therapy for Mood Disorders, Evidence and Developments. It's a review paper, showed that it was excellent for the treatment of depression. And it does that by the neurochemicals in the brain.
Right.
So not only is obesity a risk factor for depression, well established, we now know that one of the treatments for depression is a ketogenic diet. I'm not suggesting that's good for everybody, but that is extremely good for mood disorders. So again, I'm just looking at the papers here. So a risk factor, mental health. But also, there's another paper here that I found very interesting. Ketogenic diet is a metabolic treatment for mental illness. It doesn't. It goes further.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great for epilepsy. As I said, it's good for multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, major depression, binge eating disorders, Alzheimer's disease, autism spectrum disorders, schizophrenia, bipolar, and ADHD.
Yep.
It's been shown to be beneficial in those.
Wow.
Risk factors include obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease.
What is it, Steve? Is it the sugars? Is it the carbohydrates?
Sugars. Yeah. What we know, of course, is it's called glucose hypometabolism.
Yeah.
So the sugars don't get metabolized correctly in the brain, and that's why there's type 3 diabetes, which is insulin resistance in the brain. That's one.
Type 3 diabetes?
Type 3 diabetes.
You know what, Steve? I don't think I've actually ever heard of that.
Oh, we could do a podcast on that one day.
Wow.
Yeah.
How common is it?
Well, it's probably one of the most common causes for Alzheimer's these days because of the rates of obesity is a high risk for type 2 diabetes, and type 3 diabetes is just insulin resistance in the brain.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's scary stuff.
But I don't want to get off topic here, but what could you do for that? Because, I mean, I know a lot of people, my mum included, like Alzheimer's was like number one fear.
Oh, yeah, my grandma had it and died terribly of it.
Oh, it's horrible.
No, it's terrible.
What do you do?
Ketogenic diet is very good for that.
What about?
That's what this paper
Is it
says.
okay? Right.
Yeah. Okay. So that's one thing, but there's a whole story behind it.
Okay.
But, basically, sugars in the body are regulated by how much, insulin puts things in cells. Your brain, it doesn't require insulin. So if you've got high blood sugar levels, it directly affects the brain and the eyes and the kidneys as well.
Well, I know sugar sickness, people used to go blind, and that was a sign of it because,
They lose limbs and everything.
Yeah.
Because type 2 diabetes, the blood vessels and the nerves in the legs get damaged and of course the lack of circulation there. So they lose limbs. And it screws with your brain too. You get advanced glycosylated end products in the brain. Very, very high sugar is extraordinarily bad for your brain.
Yeah.
Now,
and again, I mean, notwithstanding changing the diet, this is where exercise is so important because it helps to open up those doors, burns the energy for a start, then also helps improve insulin sensitivity, helps to stop the sticky door syndrome happening in your cells. Like, so exercise, diet, exercise, Steve, we just keep coming back to that. I mean, we're a supplement company who cares about bloody health and providing the information so that people don't need to. That they're a great supplement to your diet, but nothing is going to replace diet and exercise, number one and number two.
And unfortunately, what we find in studies, and again, this is a very big generalization, this is not everybody, so please don't send me emails, but typically obese people don't eat as well and don't exercise as much. Because if someone becomes, I know there are exceptions.
Sure.
There's genetics, thyroid, all these sorts of things.
And I've got to say as well too, yes, there are exceptions. There is thyroid. There's other metabolism diseases, right? There's other, I don't know, Steve, I'm sort of going here, polymorphisms.
There's polymorphisms of leptin receptors.
Obviously, there's gut health issues. The firmicutes are out of control. I mean, there are some reasons.
Yes.
Now, some of them probably can be arrested through diet.
Yeah, they can.
And be overcome, like polymorphisms and a bad gut. And we know the vicious cycle, which is where firmicutes, you keep giving it sugar because that's what they're craving, and they keep multiplying, and it just makes the whole situation worse.
Absolutely.
And that puts more fat cells, which then creates more estrogen, which then creates more fat cells. I mean, it's this whole vicious cycle. So we get it. But you can intervene.
Yes.
And you can change your future. You are not victim to your present circumstances nor your past.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this is where this side where the diet people are correct. You don't go on a short-term diet, you go on a long-term eating plan. And they criticize diets heavily because they're short-term, narrow, they go for weeks or months, and it's like, why? Why can't you just eat better?
Well, it's the thing, Steve, in terms of don't think about, not eating chocolate cake. Okay, what are you thinking about now?
I'm eating chocolate cake.
Chocolate cake. Yep. You're thinking about chocolate cake. You're thinking you're not having it, but so it's in your mind. Whereas if you go, you know what? Corn frittatas or salads or like capsicum and vinaigrettes and lean meats or tofu or whatever you want. Like, focus on that. Right. For this meal, I'm having this. This meal, I'm going to have that. I'm going to eat this.
Yep.
Focus on delighting yourself in vegetables and fruit. I mean, who delights themselves in vegetables? But I mean, maybe good quality fruit. I mean, so do I, Steve. But I mean, like fruits and other things to look forward to, you know? If you can do that and delight yourself, your focus goes to that rather than, you can't have this.
Yeah.
It's like the girlfriend that you broke up with that you didn't want, and all of a sudden you're thinking about her and you don't want her, but now you want her because you're thinking about her.
Exactly.
Right?
It's one of those terrible scenarios.
Yeah.
So that's one of the arguments that they talk about there. Another argument is that a weight loss will prolong life. Well, unfortunately, we now know that it does.
Yeah.
But they
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, so unfortunately for this argument, I should say.
So who was the argument? Who made the argument? I mean, I know that was Linda Bacon.
Linda Bacon, yeah. And this is published in the Nutrition Journal. So it's just an alternate point of view, which is totally fine.
So she wrote that in 2011?
2011.
Okay.
So again, and now she quoted a study here where
Where's she from?
Linda, she was American.
Okay.
Yeah. And what they quoted a study here where they gave someone liposuction that lost 10.5 kilos and nothing changed. And they said their metabolism didn't change. But what you need to know about liposuction is that it gets rid of the subcutaneous fat, the fat under the skin. It doesn't get into your visceral fat, which is the tube would pierce your abdomen. So it only gets rid of the inactive fat. So dieting gets rid of the visceral fat. In fact, gets rid of it first. So you can't really use that as a comparison.
No, you can't.
It's chalk and cheese.
Again, it's another effectively straw man argument, really.
Yeah. Now here's another statement that I slightly agree with, but mostly disagree with.
Okay.
So they said anyone who is determined can lose weight and keep it off through appropriate diet and exercise. Mm-hmm. Now we know that is actually that's what they say is an assumption. And in fact, what they quote here is that people that went on diets went off them and put the weight back on, which is true. So I agree with that. But what if you went on a lifestyle where it changed, where you ate more fruits, vegetables, salads, nuts, seeds, legumes, all that sort of stuff, and you incorporated half an hour of exercise a day? You will keep the weight off. We know that from other studies, from longitudinal studies and cohort studies and case control studies where they follow people for over 10 years.
Steve, were you the one that was telling me that people who have heart attacks and survive are typically the ones that have the most pronounced change?
Yeah, I've read a paper in my master's saying how heart attacks save people's lives.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a paper.
It was you.
Yeah, because motivation is a killer.
Yeah.
It's like, even if you're overweight and you're trying to lose weight, it's like, I have to get up and go to the gym every day. But for me, I do it as just like a forward thing because my history has been with arthritis and I've had terrible musculoskeletal issues. So the fact that I can running this morning is still a cool sort of novelty for me. Well, so I've been there.
And I guess that's the thing, right? So you have a heart attack. It hurts.
Yes.
I mean, and it's pain and you're thinking about death and it's happening to you. It's out of your control. There's nothing you can do about it right then and there. There's literally nothing. There's call the ambulance, wait for the ambulance or get to the hospital. You are literally, am I going to die? Am I not? The fear as well as the pain I've heard is something that is life-changing.
Absolutely.
Sitting there watching Netflix sucking down Tim Tams and thick shakes, well, you're comfortable. Yeah. You're enjoying life. You're not having to do anything. You can be quite lazy. Yeah. You've got some extra padding. Yeah. Like you're sitting on your favourite chair. It's all good. Like you're in your stretchy pants.
What do you need?
Well, cat maybe, if you're one of those crazy cat people.
I am.
Or a dog.
Yeah.
If you love dogs.
Love dogs.
There's no pain.
No.
In fact, there's only comfort.
Until you have the heart attack.
And people stay there like a frog in the water that's slowly getting warmer and warmer. They're just like, it's quite toasty. But they don't notice. And and that is the difference. Because until you have the heart attack, until you drop dead, until you have a stroke, until you just keep going. Yeah.
And but what I've seen when I was doing all the trials in the masters, I did it in metabolism, so it was in the thing, is that people post heart attack were the most motivated people.
I bet.
And when I was in practice in naturopathy, it's like, I don't want to have another heart attack. This is serious. And these people are probably my age in their 50s. We've lost two high profile people in their 50s in Australia semi recently. A politician and a famous sportsman, and it's a motivating thing. If you've had a heart attack, it's a massive motivation. I start exercise or eat well. It's a massive motivation.
The cigarettes, Steve.
And the cigarettes, yep, all that. I mean, cigarettes is one of those things just makes everything worse, from hearts to everything. But we talk about obesity, about how you mentioned before the hot water. I like that scenario, because if you've got fat cells on your body, they are doing so. They're not just sitting there, just, they are like the visceral fat inside your abdomen, the one that's higher up here, is constantly pumping bad fats around your circulatory system. So it's causing heart disease 24/7.
Breaking the cycle is the hardest part.
Yep.
As I said, motivation is a major key. Nearly dying, not being able to see your kids, being dead 24 hours out of 24 hours is quite life-changing. It really is. And this is the epiphany, I guess. And this is the hard part. And I guess why, when they put the pictures on the cigarettes of the cancers and, I mean, and it's funny because I know they tax the wazoo out of it. And I'm not, to be honest, against that. If people want to smoke, go smoke.
Yeah.
But don't exhale. No, but go smoke, but don't smoke anywhere near me.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I will support your right to go and do it.
Yeah.
I don't think that you should have any health cover for it. Mind you, though, I guess if people make mistakes in a vehicle, you're saying, well, you can't have. Well, they were going to do that with a fat tax. Do you remember? They were going to do it with sugar. Well, that's not politically correct anymore, Steve. So I don't think they'll ever get that through.
No, they won't.
But that confrontation where people are literally picking up that pack of cigarettes and having to view it. Now, I think there was some psychologists that said that people became immune to it and they didn't see it anymore, and repetitive and, whatever. But mind you, now whether it's that measure or other measures, the amount of people smoking now has dropped off a cliff.
It has. It's like in the single percentages.
Yeah. Whereas it used to be what, Steve? I mean, I could imagine it was probably up to maybe 25%, maybe even higher.
It was way higher than that. There was, adults, especially, I think it peaked in about 1969. And my father was a surgical sales rep many, many years ago, like when I was born in 69. And he used to go around to the cardiothoracic.
1869. Sorry, Steve, I have to put it in there. Okay, yeah, okay.
And he would go around to the cardiothoracic surgeons.
Bit of snuff back then, weren't they?
Yep. Oh, the medicines back then were so cool.
Yeah, they worked.
They worked.
And they didn't kill you.
You got a cough.
Well, they only kill you some of the time.
They give you like morphine for coughs. Well, they still kind of do, actually. They still prescribe codeine phosphate for it. Bad cough.
Really?
Yeah, opioids.
I've got a bit of a cough right now.
Yeah, you've got a bit of diarrhea too. That's opioid treatment too.
I do not.
They give you opium for that.
Oh, well, maybe I do.
Yeah, we'll ask Dr. Doug one day. He used to give out opium to kids.
It's crazy, isn't it? Anyway, Steve.
Yes.
Getting back to the 1960s.
1960s. So he would go around to the cardiothoracic surgeons, and because he used to sell medical instruments for Ansell, and he would sit there and have a smoke with them in their office. And
Ansell.
Yeah.
Condom manufacturer,
That's
Steve.
Right. That's exactly right. I don't know. Lucky I
Obviously, your father didn't partake of the free samples from work.
That's right. No, didn't.
Pity that.
Yeah. He listens to this. He's still alive.
Does he?
Yeah.
G'day, Steve's dad.
Yeah.
He must be older than Methuselah. How old's your dad then?
Oh, he's 80s.
Is he?
I think.
84?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
My mum just had a birthday last week, so.
Who did?
My mum.
Oh, so good to your mum for me.
She's 78 or not.
Well, she's only a spring
43
chicken.
she was born, so do the maths. Anyway, I better get back to the podcast.
Yeah.
So very interesting how they talk about, another thing that they talk about as an assumption and what's wrong is the pursuit of weight loss is a practical and positive goal. They say that's a myth.
Okay. Why?
Well, because it should be, why? They just say, they go back to the short-term weight loss trials and say it doesn't work because they reach their goal and then they eat junk food. And again, the longitudinal studies don't support this argument anymore. People have made lifestyle changes and keep the weight off.
Yeah.
And people know people like that.
Yeah.
I know people like that. Yep. So, it's not something, it's not something to be shunned at. I think it's actually a good idea. Another myth they have is that the only way for overweight and obese people to improve health is to lose weight. Well, that's not the only way, but it's one way, isn't it? We've established that we haven't gone through the cardiovascular or any of the other things yet, but losing weight does improve your health dramatically.
Yeah.
There's no ifs or buts about that anymore. It's not. So as I said, this is the side of the argument. Another myth they say is that obesity-related costs place a large burden on the economy and be corrected by obesity treatment and management. Well, that's actually true too. And we know this from trials where they use gastric sleeving. There's trials where they intervene with which is where you basically shrink your stomach, and those people lose a dramatic amount of weight, a lot of them permanently, some of them put it back on like everything, but they reduce their diabetes medication dramatically. And that's why that surgery has been approved as free for a lot of people over a certain BMI, because it actually saves the government money.
Huh.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yes, it helps people's health, and that's wonderful.
No, I don't think that's really a major focus, to be honest, Steve. Otherwise, the world would be a very different place.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
It is interesting. So they encourage this thing where they are encouraging health at any size and encouraging body acceptance. So if you are...
This is it, right? So it's the body acceptance thing.
Yeah.
What's that old saying? Give me the power. Give me the drive. Give me the ability to change the things I can change. Give me the ability to be happy with the things that I can't, and then the wisdom to know the difference. I'm terrible.
That's it. Yeah, I think I've heard that.
That's it, right? So this is a tricky one, Steve, and because we are in such a world of enablers at the moment. You can't criticize. You can't. Even criticism is the devil now. I mean, but you can't even bring something to someone's attention. I'm so offended. So I'm not meaning to be offensive. If you're taking offense, that's on you, right? But it's like, well, cancel you. You're sued. It's just like, it's pathetic. It's ridiculous. And the world has become a bunch of snowflakes.
Well, it's sort of like, as this paper says, it should be, encouraging body acceptance, which I don't like that statement, because I don't think you should accept being morbidly obese.
I don't think you should accept that it's your future. I think you should accept it as your present. And so I'm talking to Corbin. Now, my youngest son is a bit of a perfectionist, which is terrible. If any of you are living with perfectionists in your families, you'll know the pain and frustration that I'm going through with my youngest. And I have to say to him, buddy, there is no such thing as perfect. There is just progress and improvement, or not, if you choose not to do anything about it. And this is the thing, you have to accept where you are. If you've made a mistake or if you're not happy about something, you can accept that, right? And be centered and happy with that. But then plot a course of what you want. Now, if you want to, and some of these things are you can't have your cake and eat it too. That's probably a bad one to say in this podcast. But you can't live a long, happy life without sickness, illness, death, and injury. If you're not, or as long as you possibly can, if you're not living in optimal health.
Yeah, exactly.
In optimal health, nothing in life is easy. Nothing that's really good in life really is easy. Most of the time, those things have to be fought for, right?
Yeah, exactly. So and one of the things I agree about this.
But you understand where I'm trying to go, Steve. This is where we started the podcast, right? You're not a bad person because you're overweight, obese. It's no reflection of your inner self in terms of who you are as a person and your value, right? You're valuable. Everyone is valuable.
Very much so.
But don't allow the lie to say that if you do want to improve yourself, that diminishes your value, because that's almost what they're saying.
Well, actually, that's a good point. They're saying that if you do change your weight, then that's a negative. You've been sucked into the fat shaming and all this sort of stuff.
Right. So you're then enabling the voice of the shamers.
Correct.
Right.
And they talk about that in another paper I've got here, which I found a little bit disturbing.
What a crap. I understand how people can get sucked into this, especially if they're down on themselves already. They're sick and tired of being down on themselves, and the perception may be that there are assholes out there giving them a hard time.
Possibly.
And I've seen it the other way too. The amount of people that are fit and Katie, Jeans and Chris and some of our other athletes and friends of ours have been absolutely shamed the other way.
They do, yeah.
By people who are out of shape, overweight. Their very existence is an affront to them, because it's like, how dare you look that hot, that good? How dare you have muscles and things I don't agree with? So it's okay for them.
That's true.
Steroids or,
Yep.
what judge them.
Yep.
But don't you ever judge me.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the preemptive attack, right? It's like, it's weird. The whole world is upside down, like it really freaking well.
It's crazy.
But I understand where they're coming from.
I do too.
This. No, you're okay.
Yeah.
But if you want to live a longer, happier, healthy life, you will do better if you lose weight. Now, if you choose not to, that's on you. Right?
Well, even if you ignore the whole weight thing and just say, how about you start exercising and eat better? Like forget what exercise, whatever. Exercise is beneficial for your health. That's throughout every study on the planet, pretty much. And eating better is good for your health as well. If you do that, the weight will naturally fall off. If you eat well and exercise, in 99% of cases, the weight will fall off. At what rate and whatever, and what you have to do with that, it'll still, 99% of cases, you will lose weight, but you'll be healthier.
Well, and I think this comes back down to that focus thing again too, right? Especially if you've got a relatively negative mindset. If you're focused on your weight or your circumference and all that, and that's all you're thinking about, it's like when you're working at a job and you love it, Steve. And, at the end of the day, you look up and it's, oh my gosh, where'd the day go?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
It's the same as people that are at their jobs and they hate it. They're like watching the clock. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's only 9:05. It's like terrible, miserable existence, and they're just watching watch pot never boils. It's the same thing with you. If you just focus, as opposed to actually adopt that as part of your life, find the enjoyment in it. Find the enjoyment and new flavors and food and cooking and and it's not without effort, but if you can change your mindset the way that you look at it, not from a negative but from a benefit, then, as you say, the results will come automatically.
They'll come automatically.
Won't even have to think about it, and they'll come. That's really cool. And that's super, super powerful if people can get that.
Absolutely. And they say, oh, what about people with, you mentioned before, say, thyroid disorders? Well, you can get that treated. I mean, even if you go to a doctor, get some Oroxin, it's one tablet every day, and you just titrate that to get your thyroid levels fixed, if that's what it is. If your gut, you can treat your gut, and that's what we do as practitioners. Is we take off those handbrakes to get them healthier. And, it's like that's still shouldn't stop you losing weight.
But this is the problem, Steve, especially with this sort of mentality, is that there is a microcosm, an environment now of enablers who say, no. Stay in the boiling pot. Stay in the pot, right?
Yep.
Yeah, you're going to get boiled to death, but don't let anybody define you. You define you. All powerful words that have been effectively twisted and manipulated.
Yep.
And I'm not sure from where. Maybe to gain a following, to write a book, to sell people that they're fine when they're not.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is that, again, people then, trigger word, I am fine.
Yep.
Yeah, you're beautiful. You're awesome. You're a great person. You're of great value. We want the best for your health and your longevity and your family. Are they going to miss you if you died early because you had a comorbidity? I mean, we talk about, the amount of people that have died during the last couple of years, and comorbidity is one of the things they talk about a lot. A lot.
We've got a paper on that too, if you want to talk about the last few years.
I do.
Being obese also screws with your immune system bad.
Right.
It really does. So you're more susceptible to certain viruses that will
not be mentioned.
Won't be mentioned. Any of them, really.
Yeah.
And you will die quicker that way. No question about it.
Wow.
Very well studied.
I did hear a study, I think, from Zelensky on this specifically, that the major comorbidity was obesity. Number one. Even more so than asthma, even more so than diabetes, than anything else. Number one was obesity.
Absolutely.
Now, you can't deny that. And if you do, you are literally sticking your head in the sand and you are refusing to listen to reason.
Absolutely.
And if you want to, then fine.
Yeah.
But don't drag other people with you.
That was published, this is only published 2021 in Nutrients. So there's lots of evidence about that. Look, there is something that we need to address, and that is heart disease, because that's the biggest killer in Australia.
Yep.
And there's a direct link now between obesity. Not now. There always has been a link.
I definitely understand.
Obesity causes massive changes in the body. It causes increased cardiac output, increases hypertension, increases left ventricular hypertrophy, so swelling of the heart. It leads to myocardial fibrosis, coronary atherosclerosis, and this all leads to, and there's a big chart here which we may put up in the Journal of Diabetes Research, it all leads up to heart failure, and that stems from obesity. So that's the causal link. It's not like, it's, people that are obese typically die of a heart attack. We don't know. It could be just an association. This is now the causative research that was failed in that. And that's been through many, many studies now. We know there's an absolute link. The fat cells do things to the heart, and it's bad. Also highly inflammatory too. The fat cells release inflammation. And so that inflammation drives the atherosclerosis, which is the biggest cause of heart failure, which is the arteries inside the heart clogging up with fats. And it's a huge risk factor. Of course, inflammation, drives joint disease as well.
Steve, your personal story is one of real inspiration. It really is amazing because you had a serious debilitating disease that you decided to change through diet and exercise, and it worked wonders for you.
After 6 years.
One of the things that we've been talking about after 6 years.
Yeah.
You stuck with it because you didn't know, right?
Well,
and this is where knowledge is power. Yeah. This is why I hate censorship and all this sort of crap that's going on, right? Knowledge is power. Yeah. Now, you take it's like a smorgasbord in life as well too. Yes. Take the things you want to, don't take the others. We say question everything, weigh it up. Is what we're saying really true? Don't knee-jerk response, hang on, that because your confirmation bias, which could be killing you, could be kicking in. The people that you've, bad eggs corrupt good character, as they say. The people you've been listening to could be bad eggs. So weigh everything that you've got against science, reason. What's the motivation of the person telling you this? So there's lots of things. But one of the things that we've been talking about for a while now is we've got an advisory group, Steve. Yourself, Elizma, got Jared. We've got my PT as well too, who have been sort of talking about. He's been saying I'm being a lazy ass, which I have been, which is funny because I love him because he's so truthful as well too. We've got Chantel, we've got dietitians, we've got cooks and all the rest of it. And one of the things that I'm noticing over the last couple of years is that people are lost, and especially, I'm not talking your elite athletes, and we've got a lot of those guys, and they're brilliant, right? These guys are self-motivated, that they know what they're doing, they've built a lifestyle around that, they're fit and they're healthy. But for the family members that maybe aren't, for the ones that are lost, the ones that are stuck, the ones that are confused, the ones that are frustrated, the ones that don't know what to do next, Steve, we're putting together a program where we're going to demystify I don't know, creating the best version of you. I don't know what we're going to call this program, but it's going to be designed at the people that don't have a lot of time or don't have a lot of understanding or just want a systematic approach to getting leaner, fitter, stronger, and healthier. And we're going to be talking about, yes, scientifically, Steve, and I can't wait to do it, the best exercise for delts, right? Scientifically proven the most amount of muscle tissue. We're going to be looking at rep ranges. Okay, great. That's fun. And a lot of younger guys and girls go, great. Now, for the 40-year-old middle-aged woman who's never really been into the gym and all the rest of it, they're going to be like, I'm not really interested in that. But what if we said we're going to work out the right nutrition, because we've got a nutritionist and a dietitian that we're going to be working with, the right modbiotics and polyphenols to put into your diet, the overarching. How about if I said 60 seconds of cardio a day to maximize fat loss? 60 seconds. I mean, Steve, we've got some really cool research designed to help the beginner and the intermediate to help them to create a sustainable, and that's the word, life-changing, ongoing habitual program that will help them to achieve their goals. Now, a lot of the time these things are sprints, and it's always really good to focus, have an insight, a goal, right? Because that helps to keen the senses and the idea of a 12-week challenge or what have you is to actually realign the body to pull in the right direction. Now, a lot of times, people finish at the end of it and they fall back to the way they were, but many people don't. They keep going with it.
Sure.
So, Steve, we're going to be talking about this. I'm putting together this advisory panel. We're going to create the ultimate nutrition, training, supplementation guide that people can leverage off. And we're going to put up some prizes so people can win some money, which is also a motivator. And we're going to come up with some other psychological things to help people to create a community and to create an environment and to create a resource that people can do at their own pace. And that's really important, that people have the flexibility and the ability to be able to take control of their life, and we're going to give them the tool. So there'll be no excuse for the people out there that are listening to this, and they do feel like they need to lose weight, but they don't know how. They do feel like they need the support, but they don't have the community. We're going to create all that, Steve.
Exactly. And that's what I think people need. And they can take those things, and I'll call them habits, into their, like we do it for 12 weeks, but at week 13, they can hold on to a lot of those.
Start again.
Yeah. Do all that.
And as well, too, so long as you don't feel like you need to, and these are the sorts of things as well, too, that I think a lot of the average people, and when I mean average, I'm an average person, Steve, not the competitors, not the professional sports people, or the highly, highly motivated people who are just like laser focused. I'm talking about people that have got kids, got jobs, got lifestyle, got weddings to go to, they've got, and I'm not making excuses for them, because the hardcore go, just suck it up and do it, right?
Yeah.
But most people don't. But if we can create a framework around those people to be able to help them to live life, but actually consistently improve, then we're winning. Because many of those the beginners will become intermediates, and many of those intermediates may go on to become champions.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you're here longer with your friends, family, and loved ones, then that is winning to me. And Steve, we can help people to create a framework around that, and that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be announcing some major initiatives over the coming months, and a massive challenge that we're going to be launching with, as I said, some prize money, some fantastic partners we're going to be working with, some great resources for everyone. Because I understand how difficult this can be. I wrote my first 12-week challenge back in 2003. I still remember the guy that won it, Mark Gray.
Right.
And he was an overweight guy. He was watering his in his front garden, and he had this massive beer gut. He was a cement truck driver.
Yep.
And just I said start with why, which is funny because Simon Sinek must have read my little manual and created a book out of it. But it's so important that you understand why you're doing it, and then you've got the resources to be able to obviously help yourself. Steve, coming back to this woman that wrote this, where is she now? Where are these people now? Because I remember you was talking to me about a press release from New Zealand with somebody who was an advocate of this. What happened there?
Unfortunately, Catalina.
What was so Catalina? Who was she, and what did she stand for?
Well, she was the Healthy at Any Size, and she was a university professor.
In New Zealand?
Yep.
Otago?
I don't think it was Otago.
Okay.
Dunedin. Here we go. Massey University, Palmerston North.
Palmerston North, yep.
Yep, New Zealand. There you go. So she unfortunately, at the age of 42, passed away in her sleep.
Wow.
She was
from what?
Well, they believe a sudden heart attack.
Right.
She was 42.
Wow, that's young.
So that's quite young. So it's very disturbing that someone who follows Healthy at Any Size, unfortunately, it seems like, and I don't want to, we don't want anyone to die, but she passed away in her sleep at the age of 42.
And look, I also acknowledge right now that correlation and causation are not the same.
Correct.
However, Steve, if you look at the statistical analysis here, the chances of dying from a heart attack if you're obese is elevated over somebody who has a healthy, lean or healthy, and that's what they're trying to redefine as what is health. It seems everything's trying to be redefined now. Yeah. So they're trying to what is healthy? That's subjective. No, it's not. There's a certain amount of body fat, and again, yes, you've got ectomorphs, endomorphs, and mesomorphs, which are different body types, and each of those will look slightly different.
Yeah.
But we know that being obese, carrying excessive body fat, does have significant health complications.
Unfortunately, she was morbidly obese. I hate to say, unfortunately. But she's left us with words.
What does morbid mean, Steve? Because and this is a terminology, and again, it's funny because
I've always bad, doesn't it?
It does sound. What does morbid mean?
Sure. Well, you're overweight if your BMI is over 25, and this is we can argue about BMI, but this is the definitions.
Yeah.
So you're overweight 25. If you're over 30, you're obese. If you're over 35, you're morbidly obese.
What does morbid mean? With the actual word morbid,
it means you're much higher risk of dying.
Oh,
yeah. Morbidity.
Can you look it up for me? Morbidity.
Yeah, morbidity is death, yeah.
So you're deathly fat.
Well,
so what does obese mean?
Oh, it just means you're over fat or overweight, typically.
Because that's I'd like to actually break down the word itself.
Yeah.
So the actual root word, Steve, morbid, according to what Matt just read out to us then, is indicative of disease.
Yeah.
And obese, the actual... if you like, scientific or Oxford Dictionary definition of obese means what?
Grossly fat or overweight.
So you're overweight to the indication of disease.
Yeah, 30 BMI is their cutoff.
So I don't. But the words should give it away, Steve. The words should give it away, right?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, and again, this is where the redefining and the changing of the goalposts to stop snowflakes from hurting people's feelings means that people are driving off a cliff because they're believing these assholes. And I'm gonna asshole snowflakes. I don't know. What does snowflake's asshole look like? Sort of puckered in the middle. But I think. Yeah, that's the problem, Steve. Yeah. And this is where I'm upset because these people walk around offended that they're hurting people's feelings. Yep. And there definitely needs to be love and kindness and support for these people that are overweight, but they need to be told the bloody truth and they need help to get out of the situation they are, not told you're fine where you are, stay there while the bloody bombs drop.
Well, it gets a bit worse than that because they say that therapists, and this is one of the criticisms from Kat in one of her papers, only recent 2018, it said therapists are more likely to predict negative prognosis for fat clients than thin ones.
Is that because it's true?
Yes. Kat also indicated this is what they call anti-fat attitudes, where someone like myself, a health professional, says you're obese or morbidly obese, you're quite unhealthy. That is called an anti-fat attitude. Now, I disagree with that because I think that's also...
Is she an anti-bullet? Like a bullet stuck in someone and it's going to kill them? It's like, well, you're an anti-bullet person, Steve.
I know.
Like, I mean, obviously I'm making light, but and I know that it's ridiculous, but if you look at it, the smoking gun is your mouth, right? Like, and what as my father used to say, when I was younger, that shovel that you put in your mouth could be the one that you dig your grave with. Yeah. Right? And it's funny. This is not new, Steve, and they're trying to redefine through touchy-feely wokeness, and they're sending people straight to their deaths.
Well, it gets even a little bit worse than that because in her paper she gives advice to health professionals like myself who think obesity is bad, and her advice is that the therapist can recognise and address their anti-fat attitudes to consume fat-positive material produced by fat people. That's a quote. So I'm not having a go. It's just that's a quote. I disagree with it.
So that's like if someone goes to a doctor because they've got a infectious disease, the doctor shouldn't give them the penicillin or the medication to kill the disease, but they should just maybe give them a patch and get some of this disease into them.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. There was a disease. There was a book written in my naturopathy days called "Love Your Disease. It's Keeping You Healthy," and it was a weird book. I remember reading it thinking, why would you love... And I guess we're going back into a time where a lot of things were unknown. Like it was probably about 20 years old when I was going through college. So, it's 50 years old now. So I guess back then you got an illness, you didn't know what caused it, so you were stuck with it. A lot of illnesses were like that, 50 years ago. Now we have much more knowledge that we now know that obesity kills, okay? But I hate to be harsh, but it kills you. It shortens your life, causes heart disease, cancers, all sorts of things. So it needs to be addressed if you want optimal health. If you don't want optimal health, like you say, you can smoke, you can be obese, but don't kid yourself and say that state of obesity is healthy.
And that's the thing, Steve. Just as long as people are aware.
Honest,
you can do with your life what you want. This is not, if you're sitting there and you're comfortable in your sweaty pants and you're sucking down some KFC and great. Yep. Just keep listening to the podcast. Because you find us entertaining, obviously.
Yeah.
But and fine. And you know what? You've made your bed, you lie in it. So it's great. But don't be fooled. Don't be led down the primrose path, right?
I mean, if you're obese, recognise the fact that it is unhealthy, and then the next question: do you want to address this part of your ill health? And if people say yes, don't try and talk them out of it, like is what's suggested. Don't say no. You've got to be happy with your size. Help them do it through education. Send them to someone like myself or another practitioner or anybody, or get advice. There's plenty of it around to get healthy. Start by just eating healthy food.
And you can hear a lot of the critics out there say, you just want to make money out of it. Well, you know what? How about this? Fruit? How about this, right? Go on, get a free diet from somebody who's helped other people. Yep. Eat, less saturated fats and less sugars.
Yep.
eat more fruits and vegetables, get out and even if it's just walk and drink more water.
Yeah.
Limit your alcohol consumption, limit your sugar consumption, and don't buy anything. Because that will help you. Just doing that. So don't,
So I'm not making money of it. I'm not in practice. I'm not drumming up business for myself. It's just a matter of just eating healthy and going for that walk or starting there.
Yeah.
You could go and join a gym if you want or swim at the pool.
Well, the thing I like about then really immersing yourself into it, Steve, is really getting focused in it, is that all of a sudden it becomes something to actually look forward to and shape yourself around. Yep. It's the focus point as opposed to, I'm just going to do this, which is good.
Yep.
Because something's better than nothing. And if that's all you're up to, go for it. If not, stay tuned and we will actually provide some support and some structure that is really going to turbocharge and get results quickly and hopefully change your lifestyle and help you to stay on track. And I'm not talking about people that might be morbidly obese listening to this. There might be people that are just a little bit out of shape, a bit frustrated that they're not, they're not living the life that they want in terms of the way that they look and they're concerned about their health and their well-being. Aesthetics, fine. If you want to look healthier, great. Look healthier. If you want to be healthier, great. So, this will help. And again, you don't have to come to us. You go anywhere where you find trusted advice, question everything, and get on with it. But don't listen to these. Don't listen to these people because I just wonder if she's selling a book. How did she make her money? What was she?
Well, she was a university lecturer.
Oh well,
so
she's lecturing, so she's being paid.
Yeah, probably. So this is quite disturbing. Some of the messages in these papers, and I'd encourage people to read the other papers that show that yes, obesity is a major problem, and the evidence is very clear on it. It really is.
The silent majority, Steve, are quiet and they know this. I think the silent majority understand that this is all rubbish and that, this very loud minority are, threatening cancer culture and war and all the rest of it because they're like little babies having a tantrum stomping their feet if they don't get their way and everybody acknowledge the way that they feel and the way that they want to reshape the world. And look, I'm not saying that the world doesn't have a lot of problems, but I don't see many solutions coming out of what's being put forward, Steve. And I think for those that can actually stop for a minute, engage a brain for reason and look at this, I think they'll really recognise that, the truth isn't there.
Yeah, they will. Anyway. It's also disparaging for your joints too. We know that obesity, fat cells secrete leptin.
I saw a guy the other day.
Oh,
big guy.
Yeah,
definitely morbidly obese based on the BMI calculations. He was playing football.
Oh, yeah.
Good on him.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. So he kicked the ball.
Yep.
And then he did a Ronaldo. Ronaldo jumps up. Have you seen it?
Yep. And he spreads it. Yeah.
So he jumps up into the air and then lands, and then he crosses his hands across his body. And
good on him.
Well, he did that.
Yeah, good.
And his knee blew out.
Oh.
Yeah. It blew right out. Like in the hospital, like knee surgery. It's like, And that's because the weight's on the joint, right? I mean, like the knee just caved. It couldn't handle it.
There's a weight in the joint. Also, the fat cells secrete leptin, which destroy cartilage. So there's that mechanism too. So it's very bad for your joints as well. Not just the weight on your joints, but it's bad for your hands and wrists and everything.
That's fascinating, Steve. I did not know that. I did not know that it destroyed cartilage.
It does. Yeah, I did a 2-minute Tuesday. You should watch it, mate. They're really good.
I wouldn't watch that rubbish.
And I went through a paper.
I don't have 2 minutes, Steve.
There's plenty of paper. If you're out there listening and you've got your phone in front of you, Google leptin, osteoarthritis, PubMed, look at the PubMed studies on it. Shows you leptin from fat cells because the more fat you got, the more leptin you got, destroys your joints throughout your body. So it degrades your cartilage. So it's another reason not to be obese.
Yeah, makes sense.
There's many of them. That's just one of them. And the inflammation from the fat cells makes the condition a lot worse too.
And it's a juxtaposition from the 70s songs where they had so many songs about fatness being good. And, I'm thinking of a few, Steve, Queen. I don't know
it makes the world go round. Can we say that?
Sure it does. No, we're not allowed to. No. And that's the thing, right? I mean, like, I'd like to have a bit of a laugh at it, but you're not allowed to.
No, I didn't think we would.
But things have changed so much, and some things for the better.
Do you know Brian May was an astrophysicist?
Who? Yes.
Brian May. Who?
The curly guy.
Yeah.
No, not from the Who. From Queen.
Queen.
Not the Who.
Yeah, he's an astrophysicist.
It's like Who's on first. But brilliant guy.
Yeah.
Curly hair.
Yeah.
There's the curly hair. Was he the bass or the lead?
Lead guitar.
Lead.
Yeah, the bass was John Bonham. Oh, no, that's drummer. Okay. Oh, goodness me, I should know the bass player from Queen. Someone's going to kill me for that.
Bass player from Queen.
Yeah.
That's
Roger
right.
Daltrey was it. Not Roger Daltrey. Roger, Roger Daltrey, was it? The
Roger
drummer?
Dalton, he was 007, wasn't he? Wasn't he
Tim
007 for a while?
The drummer, Roger. John Deacon was the bass player.
Oh.
And Roger.
Yeah, the lead singer, Steve, was a guy called Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury. Well, that wasn't his real name.
No, I know it wasn't.
Taylor.
Roger Taylor.
Steve-O,
Roger Daltrey, I think, is the lead singer of The Who, because I think they got me there.
maybe, I don't know.
Who, amazing bass player out of The Who. He died of a cocaine overdose, heart attack in bed in Vegas with strippers. What a way to go. The drummer was worse, though. He died with massive drug overdose. He was a massive druggie. Yeah.
It's a bit sad.
Oh, yeah. Great drummer, too. One of the best. He was a wild man of music. Goodness. Should wrap this up, shouldn't we?
Yeah. All right. We now have a corporate message to read to you. Steve,
Jeff it up, mate. Jeff it up.
We're not reading it.
Oh, we've got to like this podcast. You click the like button. You know the like button? It's got a little...
I can never find the button, Steve.
I can never find the button either. Yeah,
But if you can find the bell, and if you know what, I'd like you to ring my bell.
Yes.
Hey,
we're allowed to quote songs.
Do you remember that song?
Of course I remember that.
You can ring my bell. It was the worst singer in history. In fact, if you do, after you've liked this podcast,
Oh no, don't go to that one.
and you've hit the bell, then go and listen to "Ring My Bell" by Colette. She's wearing spandex.
Yep,
It's from the
I know.
80s. She's a really cute girl, actually.
Yes.
Blonde hair, little bob. And the only reson that she got a singing contract is
Yes,
because
I can see from the images why she got a singing contract.
didn't actually realise she was that good looking. Colette, if you're listening,
Yep, hello.
ring my bell. She can actually come and like my thing.
Yes, you can like your thing, absolutely.
Also, leave a comment.
Yeah, comments
So,
are good.
And the thing is that we're really well known in the podcast land.
Yeah.
And maybe, Steve, it's because you're unattractive that we don't get enough looks.
Oh no, we don't get enough vision looks.
But we don't. But we want people to follow us on YouTube as well
YouTube,
too.
yeah.
And please. But drop us a like and a bell. It's not called a bell, is it?
It's not got a bell. It's a
what is
like.
it?
It's a thumbs up like button.
It's a thing.
Thumbs up.
A thumbs up,
like button. I
and a
thought it
thumbs
was.
up. Yeah, but there's a bell thing.
Yeah, you ring the
Notification.
bell, notification.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
See, I know all this stuff.
And leave us a comment.
Yep.
Because we will get back to you, and we want comments for our podcast. We're obviously going to read some of those out and answer your questions.
Yep.
And see, we're here to help.
Absolutely. And my recommendation is Sam Fox if you want to look
Oh
at
my
something
gosh,
afterwards.
Steve!
You remember Sam Fox?
I remember. I was a
She had
teenage
a
boy in
song.
1988.
She had a song out. Sam Fox did.
Do you know that she married a dude that brought out a Slim T who went to jail?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. That's
Oh no.
See, even back then, I was thinking of T, not
Really?
Sam's.
Sam Fox had a great
Oh wow, she was
great music.
unbelievable. Yes,
So,
but
yeah,
no,
so-
it wasn't her music that people were.
No, it wasn't the music.
But yeah, Colette, on the other hand.